Hey, man, thank you for the clap and the introduction. Happy Friday, everybody. This is an interesting podcast for me. It's my first official guest. So I know this man for 5 minutes, okay? But Dr. James Chu loves this guy. Yeah. And he's been, at least the last 3 months, going, you have to get this guy on here. Dr. James Chu, I'll let you do the introduction to this good-looking man. He looks like a Bob Marley type guy. So I'm really pumped about asking some questions. So go ahead.
Yeah, this is the first time we've had a brown guy with dreadlocks on here.
Hey.
Good looking. Good-looking guy.
Good-looking guy. Come up a little bit closer to the mic, if you don't mind. So
like
this
a fist away.
This is Samuel Braga, and I'll let Sam talk a little bit about himself and have Charlie kind of ask some questions. But Samuel is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion many times over, right, at different levels, and he's been doing Jiu-Jitsu for a long time. So based here in Knoxville, but a lot of phenoms in the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu are rarely make it out into the middle of America and or the Southeast. So a lot of these talents are usually in California, Southern California, where the weather's nicer and there's water and beach, or maybe in New York City, Florida, Miami. But we got someone with this type of talent caliber here in Knoxville.
And that's why I dig this guy, Sam Holly. She's our production coordinator, but for some reason she loves the Chick-fil-A, so she's just like sitting in line. I think she eats there by herself to take some private time before the chaos starts. You hit on a good point with Sam, and then I'll get into all my questions of based out of Knoxville.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the beauty of him being based out of Knoxville, in my opinion, is with all his credentials that you told me about, and we're going to get into that. I was listening to a podcast yesterday with a trainer named Gunnar Peterson, celebrity sports trainer out in L.A., right? And I think he's around my age. And he's talking about all the people he's trained and yada, yada. And he had a good walk about himself. It wasn't too tiring to listen to, but he's in L.A., So my whole point being that from Chad Pennington to all the people I've trained is like, you're unique because you're in Knoxville, Tennessee. Like if I did all my training in Miami, Florida, where I was down there training Chad and all the pros were there, be easy pickings. Mm-hmm. But you're sitting in Knoxville, Tennessee, where I think Sam and I have that same bond. Is it makes it more special because you're in Knoxville, Tennessee. So you get the guys like Chewy that are hungry to train. They have to seek you out. It's not like
it didn't drop out off the tree to land on your lap.
Right. Like you're in Manhattan, New York City, right. and where the Gracie place was. I read a little of that. Or the Miamis or the Atlantas or the Arizonas, where the population is huge, so it's a bigger growth for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think this is why I think the two of you guys would really need to interface. And this is the first time, obviously, for you guys to interface. But I was priming Sam on the drive over here. I was like, man, you guys, you're different people. Mm-hmm. Charlie and Sam are different people, but they've got the exact same spirit. And we'll get into that here in just a little bit, about this kind of single-minded drive. Waking up every morning. You're at the wood gym. I know if it's next day, I know Charlie's going to be at the wood gym, even on Friday where it's supposed to be his day.
I know. I love these hypothetical schedules I make.
And if I get up in the morning, I know that Sam will be on his mat.
Right.
I mean, it's no frills, no thrills in both locations, right? So here, you go over to Sam's place, no frills, no thrills. It's just work. Here, no frills, no thrills. It's just work. But enough about that. Let's talk to Sam.
Let's do it. Well, I mean, Sam's going to have a voice. Sam, I open up every podcast show with a question to all the athletes and the CEOs that come through here and train. We work with type A personality guys that are grinders and go through a huge day. So I'll ask you this question, and that's why I didn't talk to you much. I wasn't trying to be brash or rude when you came in, but I wanted to make sure I turned it all on here instead of wasting it off camera or off mic. You're this heralded jiu-jitsu guy. I don't know much about it, but I know the people that do it in here love it. So I think it's so much more than grappling, and I think that's what you're trying to get into of mind, body, spirit, soul. So I'll ask you one question. I'm treating you like an athlete, which you are. When did you know that you were different?
I think the moment that I walked in that gym, I knew it was different. The main thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is being tested every day on a mat. Of course, in a workout room is the same thing. It depends on the personality of the person, depends on many traits that you need to have to become a top athlete. When you're somebody walking to your gym, and you're probably going to give them a little bit of push and see how far they can go. And at that moment that you meet the athlete, you know, okay, this guy's different. So when Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu back in Brazil was a little bit different than what it is here. And that's the goal for us as an instructor and pretty much spreading the martial art. Our goal now is to bring in as many people as we can to spread the art, the lifestyle, to be incorporated in their lives. And back in the day, it was more like, I remember before I even started Jiu-Jitsu, and somebody asked me a question, are you going to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I was like, yeah. Oh, man, I don't know if you're going to be able to actually stick with it. I was like, why? Oh, it's rough. But the moment I already knew, I was like, man, I wanted to do it. And for many reasons, for self-defense aspect and workout, and it'll be outlet for me. But when I jump in the first time on a mat, and it's intimidating, I believe, for everybody when you go to something new. And I was testing the first day. I have this guy, he's a blue belt, multiple time state champion. He came to me, hey man, you want to practice? You want to live roll? And I was like, yeah, it was my first day. I was like, yeah, sure. And this guy beat me for like 10 minutes straight. I didn't know what I was doing or I had no clue. And the guy looked at me and is like, what type of person are you? And I was like, I didn't know what the question was for. And he said, are you, sorry for my English here, it's going to be sound, I don't want to be rude, but are you a pussy or a pit bull?
Now, that's okay. Chewy cusses on this. I don't. I do mine all off camera. How old were you when you did this?
I was 16.
16.
Yeah, it was my first experience. And the guy looked at me and he was like, probably like, he was a grown man. He was like 25. He was like,
oh, he's 25 when you were 16.
Yeah, and he was beat me for 10 minutes. And I look at him, I was like, I don't think you're taking anything from this because you literally, I don't have no clue what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I'm just get beat here. And it's been 10 minutes already. And he's like, what type of person are you? And I say, I'm a pit bull. And I took my beating for another 10 minutes. And at that point, when I got home, my mom asked, how was it? And I was like, was it interesting? And she was like, and my arms, I could not even barely move my arms because I was so wore out and I was not prepared for that. Even though I thought it was.
Did you have any idea what jiu-jitsu was like? I mean, did you even had any clue?
Yeah, so I did my research because what inspired me to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was, I think majority of people when you go in was the Grace family. And that, the main thing was that Royce Gracie, when he was UFC, the ability he had to handle situations like with a bigger opponent. Mm-hmm. And that for me was literally intriguing. Because how can a guy be smaller and not, if you look at Royce Gracie, it doesn't look like the best athlete, right? Compared to those guys there. You have Dan Severn, Frank Shamrock, Ken Shamrock.
Yeah, built like brick shit houses.
Yeah.
And you look at Royce Gracie, it's this scrawny little guy with a gi on. And I was like, man, this guy's choking people out left and right. It's like, man, that's what I need to do. So then I did more research on it and trying to, I always be a nerd. I'm a top athlete, but I'm a nerd.
See, it's okay to be a nerd.
Yeah.
We're trying to embrace some people in here to understand, like, I wish I was a nerd. He's very intellectual. I'm not, so it's like, I don't want to be cool my whole life. Tired of being Fonzie all the time. Hey, so you could tell like but okay. So you're in that. So first of all, Sam's already got like instant cred and swag because I'm a nerd. So he's a Harrison Smith type. He's lining up with everything that you said he was going to be.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, straight up.
Perfect. And that's why he's here. So how did you get to at 16 when you were, how am I trying to say this? Like you found jiu-jitsu. Did somebody lead you to that? And did you know that you were going to be in that? Like Chewy found me. I didn't find Chewy. Chewy found you. You didn't find him.
Right.
To gravitate to that. How did that come to fruition?
So, I always did martial arts. When I was young, I started 7 for self-defense purpose because I was being a smaller guy. So my dad took me to martial arts in order for me to learn how to defend myself. And I always gravitated towards that. And when I was, 16, I was like super small. I'm small, right? I'm not getting any bigger, but smaller than anybody in high school. And I wanted to learn a martial art for self-defense purpose. And not only that in high school in Brazil is really stressful because SATs is like a preparation for your college. And it's just having one test. You can have this chance to do a test and have to get a high score. So it's really demanding for a teen at that time, and it still do right? Still are. And so what I realized that I needed an outlet for that stress that was created by the highly hours of studying. The amount of hours I was spending studying was like beyond the school, high school, And so I was like, man, I need somewhere I can train a lot and be a good exercise and be good at self-defense as well.
Interesting. Okay, so you are, correct me with your age, 38?
Yes.
38 years old. So you've been doing this a long time.
Yes.
22 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then take me through, you came up with your personality that you are a pit bull. Take me through when you knew that you had some talent, because all the athletes in here have to have some talent with some grit, with mental and physical toughness. And I think we could tap on that a little while we have them here. When did you go, well, with my talent and hard work, I could take it to the elite level, which you did?
Yeah, I believe there's part of talent and part of being stubborn, right? Because you have to be stubborn. Because any athlete that goes through their career, how many times is going to be tested? How many times is going to go to hardship, right? The hardship is part of the development. And that's through the struggle, they build strength. Like many top athletes, you talk about the struggle. And how are you going to do this struggle? Are you going to fold or are you going to, be forged and be stronger by? So the first 2 months was basically struggling on the mats. I couldn't basically beat nobody on a daily basis. I was just getting beat.
You were a lot smaller too.
Oh man, I was like 100 pounds.
Wow. And you against full-grown men, right?
I was going to at least 170 pound
Jeez.
guys every single day.
Huge difference.
And all the guys, I was the only beginner, and everybody was a blue belt.
Explain to everybody what that means, blue belt, because there's going to be audience that doesn't listen to jiu-jitsu.
So in jiu-jitsu, it's a little bit different from any other martial arts. Because majority of martial arts, you can get your ranks a little bit faster than jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is a little bit slower, and that's why majority of the times that's going to test you as well. Whereas for you to get to the next level, which is the next belt, which is a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, it might take you a year or more. Where in the other martial arts, it's way faster progression. And at that time, so at least the guys I was going against was at least a year of training, and I was just a beginner. And they're way bigger than me.
So you were tiny in comparison to these guys, and they got a lot more experience than you.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, how did you find jiu-jitsu? Like, how did you go? because you have boxing, karate, kung fu, all these different things. Like, how did you go, jiu-jitsu is what I want to do? UFC. I mean, that was like the ground break for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I believe, because that exposed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was that, at art itself, separate, mixed martial arts today is a combination of martial arts. So back in the day, it was basically testing the style. What the style is the most efficient, the most dangerous style, per se. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was tested many times. That's what the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grew so fast and rapidly in a short period of time. So
basically, it's the first UFC was brought over by the
Grace family. Because they want to test Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Showcase to America that, hey, we've got this style that is the best out there. Right?
And that was in the 90s when I was watching that, and it would be like one pay-per-view thing that you'd have to watch, and it was much more bloody and gory.
It was totally fringe back then.
Yes.
At that time.
It was like much harder to watch than even now watching that.
Yeah.
Right.
But at the end, it was this skinny guy in pajamas that looked like Jerry Seinfeld. That basically beat up everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. He got him to the ground. It was over. Yeah. Right. So that's where the jiu-jitsu comes in.
And it's mostly grappling. So it's not like punching people in the face.
Right.
And I think that's what shocked everyone. It's like, okay, everybody thought like you got to kick and punch.
Street fights.
And all those guys got annihilated by this grappler.
Right. Yeah. Looked normal.
Right.
Right. That was the blow away. All right. So take me through this journey.
So, and on the first month, my first month, nobody noticed me. Because I was just that scrawny kid there getting beat by everybody. And then all of a sudden, I want to enter the competition. And I asked the guys, because I competed a lot in Taekwondo, my previous, when I was younger. So I was like, I want to compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And the guys look at me, I was like, I don't know what this guy's going to do there. But anyway, I went there, I competed, and I was like, man, there's no way I'm going to get beat worse than I get beat here.
And this is in Brazil?
Belo Horizonte, where I'm from. So,
I know where that is.
Yeah?
I love his accent. Damn, I wanted an accent.
So for the first month, I just get beat. So I was like, man, I have to do a competition. Maybe if I find somebody that same skill level and same size, I'll be able to do better.
How old were you at first competition?
For first competition, I was still 16, which was a month after I joined Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Then I just had one opponent. I just had one.
So you had a strong desire to compete.
Yeah.
Just a strong
desire. Where did that come from? Can we tap into that for a minute?
Yeah.
Of your, like, when the guy asked you if you were a pit bull or a punani, you said pit bull, right?
Yeah.
How did you say that? Knowing it, been tested before, brought up like that? How was that where most people wouldn't say that, or they'd be in the fringe of, I don't know? How did that?
That's a good question. I mean, I believe that you can develop that over time, and with a good coach and the mindset and so forth. But at that point, I think you just some people just are born with it. You just are born with the desire of fighting and not quitting.
We talked a little bit about that off camera.
Oh, well, that could be, we could have a roundtable discussion with so many people of understanding.
That, yeah.
Right. So, yeah. Okay. So, and you have to have that to make it to the levels that you're talking about.
To the next level, you have to have that. You have to have the desire, because you're going to have to find so many people. My brother is a great example. He's probably more talented than I am. My brother is more talented than I am. And he doesn't have the same desire as I do. When doing competitions, I would win strategically, because being a nerd, less athletic, I'm way less gifted as far as athleticism goes than my brother.
I can't believe that.
Well, I'm liking.
It's crazy.
It's kind of cool having Sam on the air, because it's, first of all, my first guest that's not training with me, so I don't know him well.
Yeah.
I didn't know how the show would go. Ben and I talked a couple minutes of this is going to be a first of having somebody that I don't know.
Yeah.
It's eye-opening and it's refreshing because I'm hearing different words that we are always dissecting each client after their session every day. We go home, we talk about it every day. He's used great words, stubborn and desire. And those are words I haven't used in a while or thought about because we have so many of the same. So I do like, and also nerd. I love that. Also, the great ones always identify what they don't do well. They embrace what they don't do well.
And they know it.
And
they know exactly where it is.
And they're fine with it. And that is beautiful in you of understanding that.
Yeah.
I love stubborn desire because we always talk about this kid, just not clicking. He's not clicking. And usually it's the desire.
Now, Sam has mentioned this because I know Sam. He's mentioned this before in passing. He said, Sam, you mentioned at one point in time that you knew that you wanted to be a world champion.
Yes.
And because that's desire, right? Ultimate desire. When did that click in your brain that you said, I want to be the best in the world, period, the end. I want it and I want it now. And I'm so hungry for it.
My first month.
Yeah. So that's nice to know that people click early.
It's crazy.
Like you fell in love with it when you were.
I knew it. I was like, I look at the TV, I saw this guy compete in the finals, the world championship. I was like, I'm going to be there.
The light went on.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. I don't want to interrupt you anymore on that, but I love those, the desire, stubborn I think of all my great ones in here and they're the same, but I haven't used those words, matched it up for a while. All right. So take me through. So you're this, first of all, how did you guys find each other?
I just looked him up, Googled him.
But how would you know to Google his name?
No, I didn't. When I finished climbing and I was getting married, I was like, I got to do something, right? And a long time ago, I did jiu-jitsu for a very short amount of time, like when I was in my 20s. In Korea, actually. It was a bizarre thing.
And didn't you have some background in New Mexico?
Well, very, 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 very briefly. I got injured over there. So I went to New Mexico and for fellowship later on. I did a little bit of jiu-jitsu. In New Mexico, I went to Greg Jackson's. I didn't even know who that guy was. And I just randomly went into that place and I got injured. Was there for a short amount of time. And then it was just kind of off the shelf. Came back here, climbed. I'm doing school and all that kind of stuff. Didn't have a lot of time for myself, or didn't make the time. So after climbing, I was like, I need something here in Knoxville to keep me grounded because I'm not going to be jumping around the mountains anymore. There's always a bug though of jiu-jitsu there because I loved it then. And at the time when I was doing jiu-jitsu, which was like early 2000s. To be a blue belt, like that 1 year out and all that kind of stuff, and you were teaching in the early 2000s here in Tennessee, you were like a big deal because there weren't any black belts or anybody around here. If you were a purple belt, which is like the next level up, and that's like, I don't know, Sam, would you say on average about 5-6 years of training or something like that? Something like that. You were just like jiu-jitsu Jesus, in Tennessee. So I kind of like
jiu-jitsu Jesus.
I kind of just forgot about it. And then I came back over here and I was looking up these online, like who's in Knoxville? Maybe I'll do jiu-jitsu again. I saw this guy here he was like,
so if Holly Googles Sam, your last name again?
Braga.
He had all of these medals, all right, black belt. And I remember thinking to myself, well, if this was in 2000.
So what was your search words?
I was just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Knoxville.
And they came up with Sam?
I looked at a bunch of them and I saw this.
With those pretty brown eyes?
Right, the pretty brown eyes. It was
sexy.
That's what it was, the brown eyes.
Sexy Sam.
The brown eyes and the black belt that drew me in. So and it was like, man, okay, so now back in the 2000s, if you wanted to bring a black belt in to somewhere in Tennessee, you have to call them at this big city, set up a seminar, invite all the people around your surrounding areas. Every 3 to 6 months, you might have one come in, do a seminar, and that was it. And you pay like these big bucks and bring this person in. And so I saw his credentials. I'm like, oh my God, there's someone here in town with these types of credentials. And so I went on my first day. It was like a 6 a.m. class, and I remember I saw all of these people like brown belt, purple belt, this belt, like, and a bunch of them. I was like, man, this is like this was jiu-jitsu jackpot. I was like, this is crazy. I can't believe, because 15 years later, however long it was like, oh, you have this going on here. I don't have to go to, to New York or whatever. It's right here. So, and I was like, man, and I remember the vibe in there was great. And I was just like, man, this is it. I don't have to, I found something that's a substitute for my client.
Like when you talk vibe, you showed him around the wood gym and the vibe and
the
little energy. You felt the same when you went in there?
Yeah.
Or did you see Jiu-Jitsu Jesus?
I saw Jiu-Jitsu Jesus.
I'm brown. He probably was brown too, according to the geographically.
It was like, yeah. I mean,
a brown Jesus.
Yeah. Part of it was vibe, and then also just the technique. It wasn't a blue belt. It was this like world-class technique, and it was just mind-blowing. It was.
But can you sniff it out? Like,
yes,
say if somebody wasn't, you're like, okay, that's.
Oh no, totally.
Got it.
Because there was no like, when you, in his realm, ultimately a confident, highest level in jiu-jitsu that you can possibly be. But it was, there's no air there. Like there's no kind of like, it's just real relaxed, real like,
He's very cerebral. You could all tell right off the bat.
But at the same time, like over getting to know him too, he's just a savage.
Yeah.
Too.
No.
Complete savage.
We
dude.
get that.
So there was a little bit of all of that. So it was just so different, in a good way. And I was like, this is. Perfect.
How long have you guys been working together?
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years now. So.
And you found your spot.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
6 a.m. is perfect too for me, just time wise and all that. I mean, for me, but he's got class all the time. But it was great. So I knew immediately that this was where I was going to be.
And then you guys just connected. And,
yeah. Over time,
it's easy to connect. He's a wonderful.
Yeah, man. He's an awesome dude. And I mean, we talk about like jiu-jitsu and like athletes. You work with several athletes in different fields, but. I mean, you're going to have a tangible line there. I mean, to become a top athlete, and Dr. Chu, I call him Chu, he has the traits, You have to have some common traits there. I mean, that's why he's successful at.
What common traits?
I believe that he is, like we talk about, he's stubborn. Have desire to learn, desire to improve, and he's disciplined. I mean, it does not matter how talented you are in any sport, anything you do, if you don't have the discipline, the desire, and the will, unbreakable will. Because you have the unbreakable will. What do I mean by that? Because you're going to get beat, you're going to get struggles, and you have to keep moving forward no matter what. That's a really important trait. It doesn't matter how talented you are and how you like it, but if you don't have that unbreakable will, you're not gonna last. I've seen many athletes.
This is a roundtable discussion for everybody in the room, because we always have people in the room. Everybody's interested in our guests and who comes through here. Is that born or developed? Will.
I believe
again. I love that word.
You can be brought up and kind of nurtured over the years. It has to be a long talking and psychologically and physically build that, but it takes time, or you're just gonna meet that person that has that. But you have to find somebody that loves the sport. You have to spend time. For example, I got this athlete, he's young, super talented, and I have to nurture him to become that way. It's really hard for you to get somebody. That's why majority in the sport, you're gonna find people that they rather have a younger athlete to come to you, so you can develop those traits, and you teach them with hard work. Whereas if you get somebody that's already developed, like later on in life, they're not gonna have the unbreakable will unless they're born with it.
Right.
When do you think it's a cutoff for that? Like, what age do you think?
You have to be like teens, I guess.
I'd say 13, just from that psych development of that 0 to 3, 3 to 7, 7 to 11, 11 to 13. Those childhood years, and I'm sure I don't know his childhood background, but they say a lot about your character and your will. And I think will, and I think what you're talking about is like when you're getting choked out, you're like, all right, you're gonna have to choke me out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I've wrestled around with the guys, the Bacons and the stuff that wanted to do jiu-jitsu, and like they choked me out. They're like, well, you never tapped. And I was like, well, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? They had to wake me up because they choked me out. But I couldn't handle this big human on me. I have no background, but he took me to the ground and we were wrestling, and he goes, buddy, I had my forearm on your Adam's apple and you just passed out. Because you're supposed to tap. And I'm like, well, why don't you tell me that? I don't know the game. I don't know the rules. So,
oh, man.
So that development, where did that come from?
I've been always competitive since I was young, and I go into the sport and competitive sport young age. I think that developed over time.
I think your dad, too.
Yeah,
I think your dad was a major influence, right?
My dad, was a hard worker guy, and he basically teach me every time we wrestle, and he's like, "Don't quit, don't quit." And I think the same thing I passed on to my daughter nowadays. Is the mindset. When she came, started doing jiu-jitsu, she was like,
how old's your daughter?
She's 7 now, and she started doing jiu-jitsu at 5. And she started crying, and I told her, no matter what, don't quit. Go there, fight. So that development early on age, now she looks at me, and doesn't matter how hard, she makes faces and mean faces, and she fights her way through it. And sometimes, during the tough times, I put her now with the tougher kids, and she just look at me. Sometimes they're too rough on her, and I was like, don't quit. Because that's good for the athlete. You don't want an athlete to always win. You don't want an athlete to always feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. They have to feel good like they're uncomfortable. Mm. That's what you're gonna tell what type of person is.
Wow.
No, perfect.
That's cool.
Enjoy the suck, I said.
Oh, you have to enjoy. You have to you have to embrace it.
Yeah.
You love it.
I love it.
He loves it. But one of the things that he won't mention on his own is that his rise to world championship was very, very, very fast. Very fast. So he, within a short amount of time.
There he is. We pulled him up.
Yeah, we got some.
Yeah.
Thanks, producer.
So it was, I would say, just to give the audience an idea, that I think the average time to get a black belt would be, I'm going to say, 8-10 years?
8 years, yeah.
8-10 years. Sam did it in half that time or less. But not just getting it, but competing at a world level. So he won world championships at every level. So there's blue, purple, brown, and then black. So there's a difference in a hobbyist, who just, is not competing and all that kind of stuff. That's where I am. But to compete and win world championships and to do it in that span of time that didn't happen. So
it's a combination.
All of it. But the work ethic, I don't think you should ask him about the work ethic, the amount of time he's put in on the mats, because he's talking about the discipline. I mean, Sam, you've been full time doing jiu-jitsu. What? I mean, you were one of the first people that around at that time doing 2-3 times a day, every single day, right?
Yeah. I want when I joined jiu-jitsu for the first time, right?
So take me through it. When you were at your peak, what age were you when you were at your peak? Competing, dominating?
Probably 25.
Okay, so 25, a day in the life. Take me through a day of what that consists of.
Yeah.
I'll probably start my day with a workout. Then I train. Then I will run. Then I'll train. And then I'll train.
How many days a week?
That was 5 days a week, and then Saturday mornings, and then I'll rest Sundays.
Okay.
And were you trained by anybody, like somebody like me?
I mean,
or
I had like my mentor. Have two mentors. My beginning of my career, I had like Eric Vanderlei, and then I also trained with Draculino, which is my main instructor. And Draculino was really good because he never sugarcoat anything to me. And honestly, if you want,
aren't those the best ones?
I like it.
Yeah.
Because for me, I like it real.
Yeah.
I like the real. I mean, some people like, that's like when you become...
you don't get your feelings hurt, right?
I don't.
You don't need a
I get
safe
fired
space.
up.
Right.
I get fired up.
Yeah.
You tried to send me home, and I was like, I'm not going home. I'm not done it. I'm not done yet.
So you get motivated. I always say there's two different athletes, and you probably see that a lot. But I don't know if he sees it as much in his category or his realm, because, I mean, I don't know if he sees like guys you have to pat on the ass and guys you kick in the ass as much, because you have to, like you said, seek him out and be part of that, to where we still have a lot of people come through, and I got to be a sports psychologist of like, okay, how do I get this guy to get going or not going, and figure that out? Does that make sense?
You got a little bit of both, right?
We have to do that. We have to, like you say, this. We must understand the psychology of the game, understand the person itself that you're dealing with, and you can have to go around that to be able to stimulate them to become a better athlete.
So you understand not everybody is like you. Correct?
Oh man,
There's
right.
like nobody like
Right. And so you have to like lower standards, expectations, and still try to get the same result, but go around it this way of like, hey, you're doing good. Okay, get this, instead of your mentor not sugarcoating it. My mentor's not sugarcoating it. I want to be told what I'm doing wrong, not what I'm doing good.
Yes.
Right.
The whole time, I mean, a few times he gave me a compliment. Seriously, he's like, I had a good, my main trade was my playing guard, which means I'm on my back. And he's like, just go and talk. I'm tired of seeing you in your back.
He has a world-class guard. Yeah, everybody comments on it. And his coach is like, stop doing that.
And then later on, because I'm a stubborn person, so I kept doing it anyway. And then he's like, if you don't do what I'm telling you, I'm going to send you home. And I kept doing it anyway. And then he's about to send me home. I was like, okay, I'll go. And it's like, that's the stubborn aspect. I mean, some people, they'll react differently to different feedbacks, right? You probably saw many athletes coming through your wood gym, and you're going to see way to stimulate them. Sometimes, hey, you have to slow them down or bring him to one side to the other side, In my case, I'm a type of person that more you push me to not do something, more I want to do it. So he tried to send me home. I was like, no, I'm not going home. I was like, I'm going to kick you out of my gym. I was like, no, I'm going to keep coming.
And do you have people who go, please kick me out of your gym?
Oh, man. Yes.
I know I do. It's like, check, please.
So, like, it's a lot of fun being an athlete, for sure. But being a coach for me, is actually more challenging. Because when you're an athlete, you understand yourself and you know yourself better than anybody, to be able to succeed. Like, not only mentally, but physically.
You know who you are.
Yes.
Right.
And whereas for you to understand that people are not like you is really hard.
Yes.
It's really hard for you to understand, like, why this guy's just not training all the time and, like, eager. And, like, I mean, even after I not retired, but it slowed down my competition, I had, like a burst sack here. It was huge. Could barely fit my uniform. It's called B. And people, all my students say, you have to stop training. And I was like, no, I'm not stop training. And I don't have to train. I just train because I love to train. You know, so you're going to see me injured and they'll be like, man, you have to slow down. And I'm still training. That type of mentality, you're not going to find on everybody. I've seen it even in my gym that was brought up. People like find excuse to not go to a training session.
I tried to send you that John Danaher video. At some point in time, you should listen to it. But he's widely considered one of the top minds in jiu-jitsu right now, as far as a coach is concerned. But he's created some of the new top athletes. And their number one guy is kind of like the Muhammad Ali of jiu-jitsu. His name's Gordon Ryan. Just talks a lot, but backs it up type thing. But I think that, you know, I don't know all things jiu-jitsu, but like his coach Draculino,
still living,
still here, yeah, still around. He's actually
Texas,
pretty young guy. He's in Houston. He's created a ton of world champions himself.
Where's the Mecca? You know I read about New York City, but I know the Mecca's in Knoxville with this.
Yeah, where would you think another epicenter of jiu-jitsu is right now?
Used to be in New York. Well, why New York? Now you have to be really scientific about this, right? So you have like look at this, the demographics there. How many people can go through New York? How many evidence you have there? So now you have a bigger pool of athletes come to you. So now they have like 6 people on their squad. They call it squad. But how many people? You have over 1,500 students to find 6. So look at that. If you put it in a percentage of people that are going through their door to find those 6 people that are going to be fully dedicated to the sport. And you probably seen many times that, I mean, people have to come to you, but how many people come to you? You're going to have all those traits. They can line up to be that top athlete.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Very small.
We were talking on the ride in with my little lady, my softball girl, Kylie, that's sitting in on this, where he would have loved sitting there. I was giving her hell in the car of why she doesn't have it all.
why she doesn't have.
No, well, I mean, she loves the game of softball. This kid does it all. She's our type of person, and then has a couple things missing of that FU attitude. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you're like, you find that when we use the word coddle, and I'm sure Holly wants to shoot me with that word, but coddle is all different ways of being coddled in different ways. And that's where I would say Kylie has a couple of those that are going to separate her from the top, but not her work ethic and not what she gets in here.
It's just that.
It's a product of environment of getting in that ass a little bit more. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Of okay, why didn't you come in yesterday? Okay, and why can't you come in today? And why can't you find different things of I'll ride a bicycle there if I have to. Is that because I know I have?
Yeah,
I rode a bicycle to
no matter what
somewhere.
You're getting it in. And this you two are very similar.
And that's not throwing shade on Kylie. She knows how much I love her because you could give it to her. And she keeps coming back with that. So she does have the pit bull. If she lived with me, it would be a little bit, wouldn't you say, be a little bit different? Because you could work with that. Because it's right there of, okay, you're not overtraining. Trust me, I got this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you're not like, don't listen to anybody. I got, like, everybody on the wall listens to me. So, like, that's where you have to find that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. And, like, there's going to be a lot of people. I mean, honestly, when I was training a lot.
So when we were talking about New York City with the pool, the 1,500 to the 6 to this, and all the categories that you said everybody has to punch all the tickets and all the check marks, it's rare.
It is rare. I mean,
it's rare.
How many times? I mean, Chaz, you've had tons of athletes through here, most of them professional. or not most of them, but a lot of professionals. But then you have the professionals, and then the
professionals.
elite of the professionals.
Well, you just got to go.
How many have you seen come through here? There've probably been like less than 5. Like,
I was going to say 7.
Yeah,
I was going to say 7 because they have
Over
to. They have to be
30 years?
Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Because they have to have it all. There's a lot of pro athletes that come through here and make a good living being a pro athlete.
Mm-hmm.
But to check all the boxes, those are your Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Your
Was it, yeah,
MVPs.
number 8 over here.
Yeah.
Number
I mean,
8, yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, he's you know, this is a nice conversation because he checks all the boxes, and that's what we were talking about. Is we're talking.
We have an audience participation question, Ben.
Earlier, you said that you had to win your fights strategically, I guess because you were smaller than other
Yeah.
people. So my question would be, like, within a martial art, what does innovation look like? What does creativity
Oh man, this is
look
a
like?
great
When
question.
you're
Ben.
fighting someone and, like, you can't beat them.
Well,
I think we just got
perfect-
a client.
perfect question, because
Ben's going to start with his
creativity
gi.
and innovation is something that Sam, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so that's what dealing with those situations, because I always got a guard play, which is playing on my back, and that's what I'm a creator of the berimbolo, which is a technique that became like the most
You
hype
created a technique?
Yes.
That's what you were telling me about.
Yeah, the world over. His tips are hat, Samuel Braga for the berimbolo.
We get it, Sam. We get it. That's awesome.
And
Okay.
because of the adaptation, in the strategic aspect, because everybody from my division, being a lighter guy, they have a really skillful, really complex guard. So it's just like solving a puzzle to be able to go through it. And majority of times you don't have enough time to solve that puzzle. So knowing that, I developed this technique that will allow me to stay on my back and expose someone's back, which is mean I go from being on my back to be the most dominant position. So this is a product environment, be able to do that troubleshooting, constantly troubleshooting, be pushed on the mats. That's what allow me to develop the technique. And so that over time, and that's what the beautiful thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu allows you to be creative. And nowadays, as sport getting so more traction, you're going to have way more development of the game.
Yeah, the berimbolo is a. Would you say, Sam? Would you say it's probably easier for a smaller person? I would say.
I mean, is in a certain way nowadays. I mean, at the first, yes, it was mainly, but nowadays there's the technique that developed. That I have a lot of big guys at the gym. They do use. I have a Baby Joe. That he's also really tough. Really good, and he's a guy that I will be probably give him an example, like not being that guy that was the first, like, oh man, this guy's he's a kind of talented guy, but he's works hard. But to get to the next level of training, that constantly training, be like that grind, was over time those developed, because I've been with him since I was 16. But over time, I was able to brew that on him to be always on a mat, love on the sport, and because being an athlete is so much complex than it is like it seems. Why is that? Like for her, like she's young, right? She's gonna have all different pulls or different people pulling her off track of the success. Right? So being young and have all these friends, man, you're going to train again? Well, I think that's stupid. You should just come and hang out and have fun sometimes. So that type of person that pull you off your train or your track, they're non-sayers. They're going to actually deter you from the success. And being young and in developing that, 16, 17, 18, which is going to be those times, honestly, is the time that you're gonna peak. When you peak, you're from here on one level, you're gonna take to the next level, mentally and physically. If you skip those to have fun with your friends, you're gonna skip a big part of your development. It's plain simple. And when I was there, that was like nobody had in mind. It was just few people. When people are having fun and like partying and going to different things and do different things, I was on the mats. I was focused. I was studying the game. Nobody had that.
Yeah.
You know.
So when did you make the transition? I'm interested in this, from competing 100% of the time to going, man, I think I want to open up a place and coach. And I know Chewy says you still compete, but to the level of, when did you know that you wanted to do this for a living, not just compete? Because we see all these guys that I just know more UFC stuff that they're not opening up places.
Yeah.
You know, they're going on to do something else. And then some are, but then some aren't, you know. So when did you know? Because you have a beautiful spirit about yourself, and even talking to Kylie or anybody in here, you get it all. You know, I'm 52, so doing it 30 years of seasoned, of seeing a lot, you already get a lot of the characteristics of what makes somebody. And like you said, doing the mats while everybody else was out.
Yeah.
You know, I was training on Saturday nights at a high school and in high school while everybody else was out, you know, and that's what people don't see.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful that they don't see that, because then you could tell a story with your eyes and see that.
Yeah.
When did you go? Because you could tell that you could pass down tons of information to even, as you probably call them, students, to the athletes of, listen, you got to say no to this to do this, but that's on you. See, I guarantee you, without knowing, his dad didn't tell him you got to hit the mats instead of going out with your buddies. He did it on his own, correct?
Yes.
Right. It's that self-will. So again, developed, not developed. So take me through the transition of, is this your first spot in Knoxville?
Yeah, so I've been in Knoxville, actually in the same location, physical location, and then we moved downstairs because we got outgrew the place. But I've been here in Knoxville for 10 years, and it's actually the hardest transition for an athlete to be a coach when you're a top athlete, because you have that grind on you, right? I mean, I just love it. For me, to just be on the mat training, and like, it's hard for me to take a step back and say, hey, you have to coach. You have to help an athlete, because being an athlete means being selfish. If you're not selfish, thinking about your development all the time, you're not a full-time athlete. You have to wake up and think, man, today I'm gonna rock. I'm gonna work really hard. Then wake up. The time you wake up, that you take your breakfast, the way you eat, everything, amount of sleep, what you eat. If you should not party ever, honestly, because you make yourself disfavor. You're slowing down because you have competition now. You have your peers. What your peers are doing? You want to be better than them? Outwork them. If you're not outworking your peers, you're not going to get better than them. It's plain simple. You just increase your chance to be better than a person if you outwork them. So if you have the talent and you outwork your peers, you understand that. Because you're going to have to sacrifice. Everything in life, there's a price. You don't go to the store and buy something for free. You have to pay for it. Now, you want a success, pay for it. How much you're willing to sacrifice, and what is the price you want to pay for that? That's up to you, not to me, not to you, that as a coach. You have that in yourself. It's like, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice 5 years. I'm going to be the best athlete. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to rock it. And then we go from there. You know,
Sam, no, this is great. I want to train today.
Let's go. That's fired you up,
well,
right?
It's nice because you get all the athletes and all the CEOs that aren't coaches. So, you know, and I've had a strength coach on from the Browns before, but it was more just, you know, it's not this deep of understanding.
Yeah.
Would you say one of the words that I use in here all the time, would you say it's a big part of what you're just talking about? Consistency?
Oh, yeah.
And I find that everybody could light the switch, but they don't keep the switch on.
No. I mean, even though I'm not an athlete, but I grind in every single way beside it, I mean, I wake... The things like this, if you have to develop an athlete, for example, from like 2 times a day train, right? And you're going to escalate that because you're going to improve physically and you're going to have to improve mentally. There has to be a common growth, okay, physically and mentally. You have to be stronger physically and mentally. When you get to the next level, you're going to be pushed harder. You want to push harder, you have to be strong mentally as well. So that will develop over time. And for me, I usually barely sleep because I want to grind it, because I love the grind. I mean, I like to be in the gym. Somebody tell me, man, why you teach at 6 a.m.? Because I love it. I like to wake up at 5 a.m. It makes me feel good at the end of the day that I work hard. If I did not work hard, I feel like, man, today was a waste of my time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man does not like to waste time.
No. Well, I mean, that's, obvious with all his accolades and success. Yeah. Hey, Kylie, I think I'm signing you up.
You do some jiu-jitsu.
Well, I think that's one of the missing components, because she loves softball. She wants to play college softball. She hits. She actually hits with a former client of mine that opened up his own place. So she goes and hits and does this and does this. But I do really think that the missing component is finding that pit bull, as you talk about.
Yeah.
Or as we say, the real mofo, that's, because she'll get up and grind. Like, she's on spring break this week, and she, 5:45 Monday or Tuesday, she gets it. But
good.
Where does she get that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
You remember the Penningtons, which you haven't really had an interview yet. Chad's a little bit different. Also a very cerebral guy, but some of that same type of, he was super disciplined. I mean, he was hungry in order to.
He knew he had to train because he wasn't a natural athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to put the time in to be the best quarterback he could be. So he couldn't get away with the days off or hitting the alarm and not going in.
He also didn't, he wasn't a big partier.
No, he was very focused.
Very focused. Yeah.
He never went out. And that's a great point that Sam makes of paying the price when you go to the grocery store. I like that one too. You got some great, I would say, one-liners, but take them seriously. Of like, you got to feel the pain. You got to feel that. That's why they say pay in cash, because you watch it leave.
Yes.
Did you work hard for that and then watch it leave?
The thing that I've noticed in a few years, I kind of came in at the tail end of your hard competing years. I think that where you were, I think you just were starting masters, which is the older group, rather than the adult, which is the youngest, and probably I would say the most competitive is probably the adult group.
What does it do for you, Chewy? Because we have Brian White, one of my former clients that lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, an ex-football player that loves his jiu-jitsu. He gets up early like you and does it.
Yeah.
What is it for a guy like you? We understand this. This is different.
Yeah,
Sam is
different. For me, as I need an outlet of some sort. Okay, because I'll go crazy if I don't have some type of physical outlet. Part of it is just there's a very cerebral nature to jiu-jitsu, even though it's like someone trying to smash you and kill you.
But you're constantly thinking.
You
correct?
have to think.
Right.
Yeah, it's more of a thinking man's.
Or you
game.
get choked out.
Right. And so it's a little bit of both. You're kind of on you're trying to think through this problem, try to think quickly, but it's also you have to have like the drilled skill sets in there and to hopefully outmaneuver and all that kind of stuff. And it's challenging. So there's a lot of that and keeps you preoccupied.
Are you looking forward to it?
I love it.
When you go to bed at night, you're like, I can't wait to get up and see Sam.
I mean, I can't wait to go train. I wake up looking forward to getting in there. Because it's so it engages everything, your mind.
How many days a week do you do it?
I'm usually there every day, during the week, Monday through Friday.
Really?
Yeah. And sometimes I do a Sunday session but it's different. It's judo. It's a little bit different. But with Sam, it's usually that Monday through Friday. Sometimes on Wednesday I do something a little bit different. But But that's for me, but I think a lot of it too is just you develop a lot of good buddies and friends through it, because I think people just really
There's a good community there.
Great community of people that like to work. The ones that stick with it are just good people.
But Chu will not say this, but he has those traits. He's just channeling a different area in his life. You know, the things like this. Some people are gonna choose to go an athlete, being an athlete, successful athlete, elite athletes. Some they're going different areas. He decided to do his medical field, but he has the same grind. I mean, to become like his level is for the intellectual aspect and knowledge of the medicine. But he has the traits. You work with him. I mean, I go there. I mean, I train with Chu. He's one of my main training partners on the mornings. I grind him out.
He smashed my face every morning.
But he keeps coming. You know, he fights hard every single time. And then sometimes, you know what, I'm not going to go as hard. Sometimes I go hard. You know, and I mean, he takes
He's a tough little Chewy.
He's a tough dude. You know that.
Yeah.
You know that. You work with him, and you know.
We mountain biked one day, and he fell so hard. I was like, those Asians bounce right back up.
Yeah,
Super Bowl.
Yeah, he looked like the Super Bowl. He bounced right back. I was going to wait for him. He was gone. I was like, okay, yeah.
He does have this strong mindset. You know, not sure if a lot of people know, but he almost went to Everest. You know, this guy's a crazy motherfucker. I mean, you know, you have to be stubborn. You have to be the mindset because you look at the statistics. You talked about statistics wise, you know, who wants to go to Everest? I mean,
I don't.
No. You know,
No.
I know my odds, you know, and going there, maybe because I have not trained properly and I've done all the homework, but it's still, I'm not be the something they'll be like, you know what? I feel like going to Everest, doing climbing.
And that's what he did. Right.
Yeah, he went there. And if we thank God we did have a bad weather, we never know.
We wouldn't have Chewy.
We have Chewy here, right?
Yeah. Well,
so are we, you know, this podcast turned interesting real quick. And he's lived up to all the hype that you've been talking about, you know, because he's been pushing for you. And I know Chewy since he was maybe 15.
Yeah, about Kylie's age.
And when we couldn't do it last Friday, I know Chewy enough. He was a little pissed at Ben, and if he knew your address, you know, you screwed him a couple times, Ben. And he was like, I swear, he was this close. Give me his number. You know, I'm gonna Google. I'm like, dude, he had something to do on Friday, and then we could. He goes, but Sunday. But I was.
Always glad to see Ben.
He was really wanting to get you on, and
I think that what I was excited about was that the two of you guys would understand certain aspects of each other because of the same. You see it now, Chaz. Right?
I see it now, and we talked about this. You know, the documentary that they're doing, and Chad and Pennington and I talked this week about it. Is I was so open of bringing people in to help all my athletes, like professionals, like Sam. I'm already thinking, Kylie, you've got to go experience Sam. Like I want him to smash your face in the mat and see how you respond back. You know, do you hit back or fold? And I love meeting people like him. You know, and he's only going to get better. And I want to make sure that we address all the topics and especially your CDs that are coming out.
Oh, yeah.
You were talking about
DVDs.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, your DVDs.
Real quickly, just to the lay audience, there's a man named Bernardo Faria. Is that
it's Bernardo Faria.
He was a multiple world champion, and he has a line of DVDs that he has out to help other jiu-jitsu athletes and whatnot. You don't just Chewy can't just go out there and be like, "Hey, Bernardo, I'd like to do a DVD. It's gonna be really good, right?" So Bernardo's asking the best of the best, the world champs, the Olympians who are in judo, the top wrestlers, you know, all this type of stuff. Sam, you just recently went up to visit Bernardo
in New York,
Boston.
Boston, yeah.
But didn't you say when he's in the city, they pull him in?
Man.
Right.
Yeah. So I was telling you a little bit about Danaher, and this is not something that Sam would say, but something I've noticed. Top jiu-jitsu, Mecca, New York City. Now Sam would can go up to New York, and they welcome him with open arms because they know, like, you know, he's the man in town, and with the other men in town, and it's like a small club, and they're
It's
like
basically like closed doors.
Yeah, they're just
deal.
it's like Norm from Cheers. Hey, we got a seat for you right here.
Right,
You know,
right.
Yeah,
Because he's that well respected.
absolutely.
And at 38, I mean, it could only get better for you. You know, if that's the route of.
I kind of foresee him doing giving it back to students, being an even better coach. As he's aged, he's married. Congratulations, Sam, got married.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, and I think that's opened a new chapter in his life, and I already see him giving it back to the students even more so in my small amount of time that I've been there. So I think you're going to see more students, carrying the torch.
Well, he's like the hidden gem of jiu-jitsu, but more. I think that's what you were trying to get across. The jiu-jitsu is one thing, the physical, but the mental is what you were talking about. Is like you have to have that to achieve the greatness that you've achieved.
Yeah, I think like the most important aspect, of course, for me, the physical. A lot of the time when you're talking to an athlete, they focus on the physical aspect. But for me, the most important is going to be the mental aspect. Why is that? You can be. I have much experience from people that come around the gym. Even my brother. I still talk about my brother a lot because he's a super talented person. In jiu-jitsu, when you're like teens and you're competing, I'm always being that guy that will study the guy and find a weakness and try to exploit them. My brother never had to do that. You just go there and dominate people. So he was actually more talented. He actually, matter of fact, my brother is 6 feet tall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's
crazy.
220.
Wow.
And he's
Same parents?
Yeah, same parents. He's like, we are basically black and white. He's like so opposite, in the mind as well, especially. And
Is he around here?
Oh no, he's in Brazil.
He is. But
Brazil.
When you go back, do you guys like on Thanksgiving we do a turkey ride and ride a bicycle? Do you guys get on the mat and grapple away?
Sam would smash him.
No, not anymore because he knows it's a bad deal for him. No, not anymore. Actually, that's what I was talking to you about, the mental aspect, because he does not have the mind to be like consistency, the grind, yes. The will. He accomplished kind of couple tournaments here and there, and he was talented enough that at the time he was kind of back and forth training, and he was able to accomplish. Where even him said, "Man, you just train jiu-jitsu all the time, and you live and breathe that." You'll be doing something else. Like, man, I'm gonna go out and hang out with this girl. What are you gonna do? And I'll be like, oh man, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna hit the gym.
That's so refreshing to hear. Because that's lost.
Yeah, it's an old school.
It is.
It's formula that works.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up because we got breakfast. We got to eat some breakfast for you guys. How would you describe jiu-jitsu to you and how it changed your life and your mindset? Because you seem like such a purist, like a great guy that could go in and talk to kids and get them going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So jiu-jitsu, what JIT did for me, I think the most important, it forged me to be a stronger person, physically and mentally, and it's kind of spiritual as well. That's what I love about it, because you change your life. Even though I have, you're talking about just top athletes and people there going to be top tier. But talking about even person that came for 2-3 months, it was had low self-esteem and struggled a bit to interact socially with other people. They came to 2-3 months, they would change their life. Or they come from a shy kid that never want to interact because they have enough confidence in themselves, to change their life where they become super interactive and embracing the society and become a better person. So what I think that one thing is going to change in your life, the things I believe should be important for everybody is to know yourself physically and mentally and be able to have a self-development. And that confidence, a lot of people take for granted. The confidence in you is going to take you so much further than you think. For you to believe, you need to become a regular person to be successful. You have to have confidence that you can do something. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. I can tell how much you able to do something. If you don't believe you can do it, you won't do it. It's plain simple. Even to become better in your work, in your line of work, in your field, if you don't believe you can do it, you won't do it. That's what I have to say.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So, man, oh, man, I'm fired up again. Holly, we're training today, damn it. I mean, we're going to hire him to like speak to coaches and everything else.
Yeah.
What's your Instagram handle? Let's shout it out.
Samuel Braga GB, at Samuel Braga GB.
And the guy's the jewelry maker also.
Oh man, he
gets after it.
Yeah,
that's probably his downtime, right? To like,
yeah, it didn't stop until like 10 o'clock at night.
Doesn't stop, and
sometimes midnight.
Yeah, I love your energy.
Tell him about your handle for your jewelry too.
It's NXS Design X on Instagram. And like the same thing, I'm just going to be briefly here, right? When the jewelry came out with the idea of doing bracelets for jiu-jitsu, and when I have the idea, the guy say, "Man, that's a good idea," and I told him, "I'm going to do it." The guy laughed at me, and he's like, "No, are you going to make it?" I was like, "No, I'm going to make my own jewelry," and the guy did not believe it, and that fired me up.
So, but you believed in yourself.
I believe in myself,
and that's what you're teaching everybody that comes through there. Jiu-jitsu, you don't have to go to Sam to be a world champion. You can be a world champion within yourself.
Yes,
I love it.
Put the work in, though.
Put the work
in. Yeah,
man, I'm pumped up today.
Yeah,
I'm ready. This was. I'm not ready to grapple with them, but I'm ready to send everybody to them. Sam, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was great. I really appreciate you coming over here, Sam. Charlie, I hope that you thought it was as good as I thought it was.
Yeah. It was what it was supposed to be. As usual, you never disappoint. Thanks, Chewy, for putting it together.
Yeah.
Dr. James Chew, Big Sam, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.